go. And we're live here on Facebook. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land, as well as my buddy Rich. Rich, you're back.
I'm back. So we were over in Kansas City last week for vacation and just I couldn't find time. I was hoping to make a video to give my actual give my picks for Kansas and the Cubs and the Kentucky Derby and just did not find time like I was intending to do. And also, it's vacation. I was trying to stay off my phone
Yeah, totally get it.
as much as I could.
Not a problem. Doesn't bother us either way. Rich, so first things first, did you get the relaxation that you needed?
Yeah,
Good.
it was good. It was good. We had a nice oversized soaker tub with with like a jacuzzi soaker tub in our hotel room,
Nice.
which is always nice to do. Well, those hot days coming back from the zoo and the race, it was nice to get in a nice soak and just sort of
Yeah.
cool down.
Um,
Um,
so we
and Yeah, and the hotel was really good too, with location wise, to get to where we wanted to go out in Kansas City as well.
Nice. So we are gonna start. By the way, I had a good week too. We are so we are tomorrow is 37 weeks. So baby theoretically could come at any time. We're praying that we can make it the 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks till the scheduled day for the C-section, which may mean you might be on your own the first show in June, but I will keep you updated as I know.
No, and that I was fully expecting that, so I understand. You're on baby watch now, so
Yep.
that doesn't surprise you one bit. I'm expecting it,
Yeah. That's all
so
right.
get used. So yeah, so get used to some short shows over maybe a couple weeks of short shows.
I will try not to be that many. Um, so we got a great show lined up for you guys. Rich being back, we got a lot to talk about there. We're gonna he is gonna recap his show as best as he can, um, or his trip. Um, then we're also gonna talk about the NBA and NHL. Rich, what else we got today?
Well, Mike, we got to go into the NASCAR corner as Mike talked about. As I got to give you a rundown on what happened in Kansas since I was on site, as well as we're talking to Chicago Cubs. We got to recap the Derby, and we're going to circle back to the NFL to kind of give our final thoughts on the NFL draft, as well as maybe even talk a little bit about the schedule release that happened this year,
Ooh, I have
this
big
week.
news on that one,
Big news. Okay,
but I can't
so
say it on
stay.
here. So I'll tell you. I'll tell you afterwards. Remind me after the
Gotcha.
show. Ask me about the schedule release.
I will try and remember. All right, Mike. So that's our show rundown. So what's it time to do, Mike?
It's time to roll that intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich. So first of all, I changed that up a bit, but before we start the sports talk, we always have to talk our poll question. This week's poll question was is still Jock Jams. Everybody Dance Now versus Nah Nah Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye. I don't even remember if I ended up voting on this one. Let me check.
We had multiple votes,
Well, let me check because
we
if I didn't vote, maybe I changed things around. It looks like I did not vote. It doesn't change the thing, but I did vote now. So, Rich, where did
Okay.
you vote?
I voted with na 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 na. Kiss him goodbye. The neat. I mean, I know the Cubs don't use it. It's more of a White Sox thing, but it's still neat. I still love it when you see like a relief. In my mind, it's one of those things that's when a relief pitcher who has a rough outing or the starting pitcher gets roughed up and he gets replaced out of the bullpen for somebody else coming in. It's just one of those things that to hear that song either being played on the organ or the actual song coming over the speakers as the guy's walking off the mound. So that's why I went with that song.
Okay. I mean, that's a good one. I'm okay with that. I'm not upset about it. I went with Everybody Dance Now. I mean, I just love that song. So, and the people agreed with you, Rich. Our five
Okay.
votes were broken down. 2 votes for Everybody Dance Now, and 3 votes for Na Na, Hey Hey, Kiss 'em, Goodbye.
All right, Mike, why don't you go ahead and give those shout outs?
So, your brother, Josh Hendricks, and voted with me. Matt Johnson, friend of the show, voted with you, and my mother voted with you. So, there you
All
go.
right. Yep. Thanks for everybody that voted. This week's poll question, which we'll get up after we get off the air, will be shout against twist and shout.
Man, we've been pulling Beatles references 2 weeks in a row. So, Rich, let's get into playoffs. So the Devils, who were your pick, defeated the Rangers in the first round and have been eliminated by the Hurricanes in the second round.
Yeah, they lost their series 4-1. My other pick of the Edmonton Oilers has a game 6 tonight in Edmonton with their series with the Knights, trailing the Knights 3-2. They did win in the first round, 4-2 against the Kings. Mike, how did the Lightning and Avalanche do?
They were both eliminated in the first round.
All right. Over on the NBA side, Mike, your pick of the Nuggets are going to the Western Conference Finals to take on the Lakers, who took out my pick of the Warriors for the Western Conference, as the Lakers won their series 4-2, and I believe the Nuggets won their series 4-2 as well. Mike, how did our Eastern Conference teams do?
Well, Rich, the Hawks, uh, the Hawks were eliminated in round 1 by the Celtics. And then the Warriors were eliminated in. Oh, wait, we did that one. And then the 76ers swept the Nets in round 1. And in round 2, the series is tied 3-3 against the Celtics. Game 7 is Sunday in Boston.
Yep. Have you had a chance to watch any playoff hockey or basketball?
I have not.
The,
I have watched more Cubs games this year, so that's nice. But no hockey or baseball.
yeah, neither have I. I think maybe depending on what the matchup is, I might watch some. I might watch some of the playoffs, but it's all going to depend on the matchup.
Yeah,
So once we have a finals matchup and know which teams are going to be in the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals, Mike and I will decide which one is going to be our lunch bet. But either way, we'll make sure to give our predictions on air for who we think is going to win before those championship games start. Mike, let's go from the more indoor sports on the hardwood and ice over to the baseball diamond, Mike, as we got to recap the Chicago Cubs. Last week, they played 2 against the Marlins, 3 against the Cardinals, and 1 against the Twins.
yeah,
Mike, they only won 2 games
yeah,
as they got swept by the Cardinals.
yeah. That's a rough one. Can't let that happen. I mean, that's how you. Again, we were excited at the beginning of the season, and I think rightfully so. We're seeing our guys' talent ability. The problem is we need to see some longevity out of that. We also need to see a good bit of just development. We did get excited, and I will say prematurely. We have really we have a lot of young guys on the team. We have a couple decent and good veterans to guide them, but most of our team is made up of younger, fresher guys. So we got to give those guys some time to develop. It's not going to happen in a year. We're still doing all right. I think you froze there, Rich. Next, so I'm okay with it. It's a little bit of a bummer, but we'll see what happens later. So I'm gonna do this, and I will hopefully get Rich to call back, or we'll see. Next week, the Cubs. Today, the Cubs face the Twins. The Twins today and tomorrow, and then they have Houston 3 games, and then they have the Phillies for a game. So that's going to be coming up here this week. Rich is taking 3 votes, three for them, and he's taking 3. The Cubs. He's saying the Cubs are going to go 3. I think it's going to be 4. We'll have to see what that looks like later, but my bet is 4. There he is. We'll try this one more time. Let me do this. Hopefully this one goes through. Hey, let's bring him back in. There you are, Rich.
Hey, I got a video feed of you now.
Good.
So that's great too.
So I was saying, I don't know how much you caught, but I was saying that we have a young team and we need to give them time to develop. We were getting a little overexcited, probably a little prematurely, and hopefully we'll see these guys do better throughout the year. This week was slightly disappointing because you can't let the Cardinals sweep you. Any other thoughts on that for the past week?
Yeah, for me, Mike, I was glad to see that we called up Christopher Morel.
Man, he looked good.
Matt Mervis from the minor leagues. I'm still just a little bit confused on what our roster construction looks like, because I think we had Miguel Amaya up for a while when Jan Gomes went on the concussion protocol. So I'm a little bit confused on why, with the roster construction being what it is. I mean, why are we carrying, in a sense, 3 guys who can play first base? You have Eric Hosmer being paid the league minimum because the Padres are paying the rest of his salary because they cut him.
Yep.
So why it isn't like it's a money thing if we cut him. If we cut him and
Rich, so
and you got Trey Mancini.
We've talked.
I think too.
I have a theory on this, and we've talked about it before.
Go ahead.
This is not the year. Like, let's be honest. We're not a wait till next year team this year. We're not even a this year team. We are in full rebuild. And in full rebuild, 1, you take cheap guys that you can work with for as long as you can. 2, you got to switch stuff up. You got to figure out what's going to work. That's what a rebuild is, right?
Yes, correct.
So if we are in full rebuild mode, if we are truly looking at it like, hey, we got to figure out who's going to fit where, then it doesn't hurt to have 3 first basemen. You got to figure out which one it's going to be. Yeah, we might need to do this, that, or the other. But you need to make sure, like, that is the key. Always let them do this right now. Because next year, which theoretically should be a year where we truly are contenders. If you look at the trajectory of our team, we should be contenders next year, right?
In theory, yeah. I think we could be contenders next year.
Do you want them to try to is next year the year you want them to be figuring out who goes where? No. You want to do it this year, right?
So my thoughts on it is Eric Hosmer going to be on this team next year? Pretty much on a 1-year deal.
You're giving him a chance to prove that he deserves to be, right? Like, isn't that kind of what it is?
All right. So the way I see it, you got Matt Mervis had nothing else to prove in AAA.
Yeah.
To where he's either in that realm to where he's a 4A player or he's a major league player. So why not let him take those at bats? Because we know this isn't a rebuilding year.
Yep.
If we finish above 500, we're going to consider that a great year for the Cubs based on how they have played over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So why not let Matt Mervis take the at bats at first base, get his lumps in, and if he's a long-term solution, then use this year to figure out, is he going to be the first baseman of the future, or do we need to invest in a quality major leaguer to man first base from here on out?
So
then once you get, and then you also have, all right, Christopher Morel was raking down in AAA. I mean, I can understand come up with how he did last year, being as a call-up guy that we let stick around for the entire year, but saw that he still had some things he needed to develop.
Yep.
On this Cubs team right now, with them wanting to play, because he can play every position probably except first, catcher, and first base. First, catcher, and pitcher.
Yeah.
He can play every single position. But there isn't a spot for him in the outfield the way this team is currently constructed.
Yeah.
And there isn't necessarily a spot for him. We're rolling out Patrick Wisdom out there every single game. Rightfully so, because he is leading the league in home runs right now. So there isn't really a spot for him on this team to get a quality starting job every single day once Nico Horner gets back from the injured list.
Yep.
So if you didn't have guys on the roster like Nick Madrigal and Eric Hosmer, that would
I think Rich was, yeah. So can I make my counter argument real quick?
Go ahead.
What year are these guys on their contract?
First major league contract.
Okay. What's the key to your major league to getting your guys on their first major league contract?
Keeping them on that rookie contract to keep the costs down.
Yep. So if we don't, and again, I don't remember what the date is, but we have to make sure that these guys are ready to go. And I agree. And you're hoping that next year you can keep these guys and you get them that way. That's great. But the problem is that we need to make sure that we're going to have them for the long haul. And if we're going to keep them for the long haul, you gotta make sure you gotta keep the. I mean, it's the same. It's the arbitration that we did with Chris Bryant, right?
Mm-hmm.
That same thing is what they're trying to do here, so that they can keep these guys longer, make more value for us. Maybe they're trade fodder, because come the deadline, if we're in a contending spot, I don't think we will be, but if we're in a contending spot, those guys are very easily. Here's a rookie guy. Take him. Like here's a guy on our raw. Like they're the number. They're top 10 prospects, right? They're high level prospects that should get a bounty in a trade, including maybe we can find a closer out there. Maybe that's what they're doing. I'm not in the front office. You're not in the front office. No. Neither one of us has insiders in there. But in my mindset, I want to keep these guys healthy for multiple reasons. One, injuries. We get these guys. We got plug and play guys, right? That's number one. Number two, we have trade fodder. If these guys are healthy, theoretically, we should get a king's ransom for them. Because they're on their rookie deals. They look like they're ready to play in the bigs tomorrow. By the way, some of them are on the roster today even, and should be. Why wouldn't we? I understand the concept. Play around with the roster a little bit more. Your argument, that's, if I understand it correctly, that's kind of what your argument boils down to, right?
Yeah, play the guys you know are going to be with you long term.
Then why are we paying the guys that are only going to be here short term?
Yeah.
What's the point of Cody Bellinger on a 1-year deal if you don't play him? Why are we paying Cody Bellinger what we're paying him if you're not going to play him?
Yeah, Bellinger's not. I don't have any beef with Bellinger.
Okay.
He deserves to be in that lineup every single day. My deal is with being the Mancini and Hosmer.
Okay.
Mancini, Hosmer, Madrigal.
But I understand that it's league minimum, but it's a contract, and we're paying league minimum for Hosmer, right?
Yes.
And so if even if it's just league minimum, that's still, how many years of service does he have? It's probably, so his league minimum's probably,
he's past that point. He's had his big long-term deal.
I get that, but I'm saying the league minimum, isn't that based on years of service plus blah blah blah, if I remember correctly?
I'm not sure about that one. But I mean, I get your point. At least if we're gonna give Hosmer at bats and get him in the lineup, maybe that'll show that if somebody at the deadline or if injury happens, that could show that, hey, you need a first baseman. We'll take a bag of peanuts, and we'll take a bag of peanuts on a lottery ticket prospect, and here's Eric Hosmer.
But I even think
at the deadline.
I mean, I think Hosmer deserves a little more than that in all credit, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's hard, and making those decisions. The other hard part, and this is something that I said since the beginning of his tenure as manager of the Cubs, Grandpa Ross doesn't get to make these decisions. I know he's the manager, he's our guy, but we know where those decisions are coming from. It's not his call half the time. Most of the calls that he's getting are based on the analytics guys and the front office saying, "Hey, we need these guys in the lineup." I personally, I don't think David Ross would put this team out there. I don't. I mean, if they are, sure, why not? But I don't want to say I want an old school guy. I don't mind. First of all, I don't think Joe Maddon did anything to deserve not being back with the Cubs. But again, that argument's already been had. We've fought through that. I think we both agree that he deserved more than he got, and he deserved more than, okay, we're gonna just. No, I think he genuinely should have been offered something. But they wanted somebody that was pure analytics and not. I use analytics with my old school. I'm Joe Maddon. I know what that I'm doing.
Hmm.
And if we're gonna do that, then that's fine. But I have a problem with, and we've talked about it more than we need to hash out here. But I think that the Cubs should have. So I'd like to see, and I think that's part of the problem. Um, Grandpa Ross is getting. Grandpa Ross got this deal because Ryan Sandberg didn't, right? Because the backlash from Cubs fans when Ryan Sandberg got passed up. Do I think it should have been Joe Madden? Yeah. Am I glad that he took us where he did? Yeah. But because of the backlash and how the bitter taste that was in both Ryan Sandberg and a lot of the fans' opinion of it, they felt like they had to give the job to Ross. They also knew that they could use Ross to do it the way they wanted it done. I expect, if not by the end of this year, probably mid-season or early next year or late next year, we're gonna see Ross out, and we're gonna see
Hmm.
a more experienced manager. I'm not gonna say we're gonna get we're not gonna go for a Tony La Russa or an old guy, but we're gonna look what
No, finish your thought.
we're gonna look at guys that have been actually managing for years, not just a guy that, hey, he played for us 2 years ago, let's bring him in. That's my thought.
All right. We could already have that guy in the building, Mike.
Who you thinking?
Well, the guy that's a part-time broadcaster for the Marquee Sports Network, former Cub Joe Girardi.
Yeah, yeah, and it very. By the way, I think that'd be a great. I think that'd be a great move.
Yeah, I mean his tenure didn't end well in Philly, but he has a World Series ring with the Yankees.
Yep.
He was a former manager of the year when he had his first job with the Marlins.
Yep. He's a
So
good manager.
I could see Joe Girardi doing it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I mean he lost the Marlins job even though he was the manager of the year because he didn't want to listen to the front office. So if the front office wants a guy that they can still have some influence over, I don't know if Joe Girardi's that guy. But if they felt that all right, I think this team can take the next step, but we don't think our current manager is the guy to get us there. Joe Girardi could be that guy. That's what happened with Rick Renteria when
Yeah.
they went Renteria to Madden.
Yep. No, 100%. I think that's a great call.
It could happen. It could happen. I don't know.
And Joe Girardi's not the neophyte that I mean I love. How old is Joe Girardi? He's not that old, is he?
Gotta be in his.
Okay.
Um,
Joe Girardi. He's only 58. I didn't realize he was born in Peoria. Did you?
I think I remembered something like that.
I'm
He was
I'm
an
all for
Illinois
it.
guy.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that, I mean, but I agree with you that there was a lot. I remember there was a lot of backlash when Sandberg interviewed for the job and didn't get it.
Yeah.
But I think that was when when they gave the full-time job to Mike Quaddy and then went to Rick Renteria.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, I think the Cubs were kind of in a no-win situation there
Yep.
because if he failed, which he probably would have, with the teams that got rolled out there underneath Renteria and Quaddy,
Yeah.
what would have the backlash have been if they said, you know what, hey, we weren't expecting this guy to be available in Joe Madden. We're going to dismiss you and we're going to hire this guy. There would have been a lot of backlash and Sandberg probably walking away from the team, not wanting to be around it, thinking that he got kicked to the curb the
Yeah,
year before, 2 years before they finally win the World Series.
and
He didn't get to be the one to guide them, take them the rest of the way.
but do you think Sandberg could have gotten him there?
I don't know if he could have. Maybe. You never know.
That was
You
a
never
special
know.
team. That was an extremely amazing team. But I agree. I don't think they would have made it there. And I think if you brought Joe Girardi in, it'd be very similar. You'd see. I think he'd be. I think Joe Girardi would be a great fit. I think he'd be. I'd love to see him down there, and I think he could legitimately. I think you could legitimately see him take the team to the next level. By the way, I think part of the reason that he didn't get the job was because he became available in 2022. 2019, obviously that was the first, like, everybody was screaming for Grandpa Ross back then, and it was the early time, and then in 2022 Ross hasn't been given a good team. He hasn't been given the opportunity. So now Ross has been given a great team. And this is why I don't think it'll be this next year. I think it'll be, or this year. I think it'll be next year, after we have a team that really should be good playoff contenders next year. I'm gonna say it right now. With the talent we have, both in the AAA and on our big league roster that will be there next year, barring trades, of course. There's all those other things. If next year we go through and we don't have somebody ready to go and ready to, like, we aren't contenders, you'll say, hey, you can say, hey, we gave Ross the opportunity. Joe expressed he had some thoughts and he had some ways that he'd like to do it. Let's bring him in. And I think that's why it'll be end of next year will likely be when it happens. And I'd love to see it. So, now we do, for your purposes, Rich, 2 games against the Twins, 3 games against the Astros, 1 against the Phillies. Who you thinking? What are your picks?
I'm gonna go 3 wins this week, Mike.
Okay, that's rough, and I think you're probably right, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that we can win 2 games against one of these teams, and so I'm gonna give them 3, or I'm gonna give them 4.
Oh, I would have thought you were going 4 because you thought, you know what, I want to see him sweep the Astros.
I do want to see him sweep the Astros. I hate them, but I'm honest with myself once in a while, and I will say I know they won't be able to. So trying to be more realistic about it. Okay, Rich, do you see what's coming up next?
I do, Mike. Is it a left turn?
It is, and you were there for the next left turn. And why is that, Rich?
Well, Mike, because we're going into the NASCAR Corner. The NASCAR Corner is presented as always by III Sports Cards Incorporated, 5th Avenue in Moline, Illinois, for your local here in the Quad Cities. Or you can also find them on eBay, III Sports Cards Incorporated. So, Mac, last week we were in Kansas for the Advent Health 400.
Yes, you were in Kansas, sir.
I was. The race winner was Denny Hamlin on a last lap pass on the 4th turn, where he spun Kyle Larson to win the race.
I don't know that he spun him all the way. I think he tapped him and got him loose, but I'm not gonna say it was a full-on spin.
I didn't see the spin either, being on the 4th, seeing that it was on the back half of turn 4, and but anywho, your race, Denny Hamlin got first. Ross Chastain, my pick, came in 5th. Mike, your pick of Chase Elliott came in 7th, giving me back on the winning side, and I increased my lead 10-5.
Yeah, that's.
So, Mike, you made reference that I was at the race.
Yeah, I'm ready. Ladies and gentlemen, strap in. It is story time with Rich. Rich. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, but
Okay.
before we get to my questions, I want to know. I want you overall tell us some of the highlights of your experience. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
quiet. I'm actually gonna put you as the main. It's just gonna be you.
Yeah. So we had our tickets ended up being right at the choose cone, which we didn't realize were there when we bought the tickets online. When we bought the tickets, we wanted to be after the start finish line to be able to see to be able to get a good view of the stage breaks to see who crossed the finish line and won the stage breaks. And but when we got up to our seats, we realized, hey, we're right on the choose cone, which was a really good view of the race itself. Pre-race, we did all the fun stuff. We got to sign a car that's going to be featured at the Memorial Day race, honoring veterans and everything. Got to sign that. I think they said the car was going to be the pace car. Um, so we got to sign that car. We went down to um, got to go down on the infield because we had pre-race passes. So we got pictures in Victory Lane in front of the pit boxes on the infield, signed to the start finish line, and just got some cool on track on track photos. It was just really neat to see. We didn't get to see the driver introductions from the infield because that's when we were going back and forth between the infield up to our seats in the grandstand. And oh, and really the only thing we really missed was not being in the grandstands for the national anthem and the flyover because we were going in between the infield and getting to our seats. Um, because my wife had misplaced her phone and had to retrieve it from from customer service there,
Yeah.
guest relations. But it was a fun event. I don't know if I would have paid for pre-race, but being it was my first ever race going to, it was neat to have that type of access and get on the infield and see things. And And yeah, and we got some cool merch. I'm wearing my NASCAR merch that we brought back, a nice Ross Chastain shirt and hat. So I finally, after what we're 3 years doing the NASCAR
Yeah.
corner and everything, I finally committed to a driver.
Okay.
It's Chastain. You have Denny Hamlin. I've got Ross Chastain.
Okay.
So
I also want to hear about the race itself. Tell me what your thoughts on that are.
it it was it was everything and more than I was expecting. Really, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at times with when you get lapped cars in there, it's hard. It on the TV, you know that when you got a lapped car, you can see the grid, the live grid going
Yeah.
on. You know where people are to where normally when I'm watching a race on TV, I know that I can easily follow the six people that I have in my fantasy lineup.
Yeah.
On the track, a little bit harder to do that with because you're not sure, right, where in the place you lose track of who the lap cars are, who are the people that
Yeah.
who are the lap cars. But I still found it fun, so I was just sort of focusing on the two guys we had at stake in our game, which was Elliott, Elliott Chastain, and who the leader was.
Yeah.
But
So, things for you to think about, understand.
okay,
One, did you? So, were you looking at the pylon? So there was that giant pylon.
yep, yeah,
That kind of helps you there. So that's that. But the other side is you because and mostly I'm trying to draw some stuff out from you to because there are
hmm
things that you have told me. You said you were surprised at how well you could see the entire track.
yes, I really was. I was not expecting to have that good of a view of the backstretch. So
Yeah.
after turn two, at turns two and three, I was not expecting to have that good of a view from the grandstand. So granted, we were in the lower section of the bowl, but we were being 25 rows up. We
Yep.
actually did have a really good view of the backstretch. we had been down a little bit lower, I don't know if we would have had that type of view.
Okay. Um, so, I have questions about the trip itself, but before
Okay.
we get to that, um, being your first NASCAR trip, did this change how you view NASCAR and how you feel like you'll look at it now that you've been to a race watching it on TV?
I don't I don't know if it will.
Okay.
I still kind of view it as, I mean, I enjoy watching it, but I'm just as much watching it from a standpoint of, all right, how are the drivers that I selected for fantasy doing, and how are the driver that I picked to win the race
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. But the big thing I was at, like, so when I first went, for me personally,
Hmm.
it made me a bigger Cubs fan or a bigger baseball or
NASCAR.
NASCAR fan. I bet it made me it solidified that love that I thought I had for it. Now feeling the thunder of you had 36 cars on track. When I first started going, we actually had 40. That was back in the day when they had 43 cars on track. Did you get to go to any of the practices, or did you only buy the race
We
tickets?
only bought the race ticket.
Okay.
We thought about going to the casino,
Okay.
the Hollywood Casino, which is on turn two of the track, to maybe watch practice and qualifying. But by the time we got back from spending all day at the Kansas City Zoo out in the hot weather, what neither of us felt like going back out after we had cleaned up and had a chance to relax. So we didn't end up going and watching the truck race or the practice or qualifying from the turn two
Yeah.
um, area at the casino.
Yeah, you guys did it differently than I've ever done it, because I've always done it where basically you buy the entire weekend pass and you're there all day every day for all 3 or 4 days that you're there. No big deal. It's just a little bit different of how you do that. And then finally, fourth trip overall. Did you get barbecue?
You know what? I did not. We did not end up getting barbecue, but we did eat at the other thing that Kansas City's famous for, which is steak. We went
Mm.
to the big fancy steakhouse on Friday night for a nice steak and scallop dinner. We had steak and scallops, and with the restaurant being right there with a view of the track, we had views of the back stretch. Nothing was going on.
Yeah.
We saw people walking on the track,
Yep.
and when we got back to our hotel and looked around Facebook, we found that it was Ross Chastain leading a track walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was associated with Advent Health. So I
Nice.
don't know if it was a track walk of people that had infield tickets, or if it was a special event inviting his sponsor for that week to come out to the track with him and do a track walk on Friday night.
So speaking of Ross Chastain, he got into a little extracurricular activities after the race. As a Ross Chastain fan, how do you feel that he is quickly becoming the quote unquote bad boy of NASCAR?
If anything, it's just more fun with it.
Yeah.
He had that thing last year. There was the feud between him and Denny Hamlin
Yeah.
last year. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything new. I mean, to hear that it sounds like it was Noah Gregerson was the one to go over there. Maybe he was the background information that I got on it, reading stories afterwards, seemed like Gregerson was instigated or told to go over there and do something about it. So I saw something where it was Chase Elliott saying somebody's got to do something,
Here's
and
my
now you
thing.
hear and now you have Kyle Busch complaining about Ross Chastain's driving or tactics, but being Kyle Busch has his
Yeah.
I guess has his own driving style that people always don't appreciate. It's never his fault.
I
It's never his
also
fault when he spins out and gets out of the race.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I actually don't think it was Chastain's fault either way. The bigger problem I had was it looked like it was a staged thing because the camera was perfectly right behind Noah Gregerson, and followed him. Like, it looked like it was set up.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, like, come on, NASCAR, we're better than this. We're not the WWE. We don't need this. Like, do I think that people are upset with Ross Chastain? Probably. Do I think that he's done anything wrong? No. I actually like the guy. Even though I'm a Denny Hamlin fan and that feud last year, rightfully so. Okay.
But
Rich?
yeah, overall, I mean, I'm looking forward to getting to another race. I don't
Yep.
know if that's going to be back at Kansas, since that's so for me. It's either Kansas or Madison, Illinois, going down to the St. Louis area
Yeah.
for Worldwide Technology Center being the closest two tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're hoping to get to the Davenport Speedway this year.
Yeah.
See some local races at the fairgrounds, and maybe hopefully planning our next trip.
Yeah, I'd hopefully one of these. I mean, my babies have to get a little bit older for them to fully appreciate anything. And my wife is not a huge NASCAR fan, but she watches it with me and kind of participates in I'm starting to get her to do to worry about our fantasy stuff. And speaking of which, let's give a shout out to fantasy this week. We haven't done that in a while. Let me pull that up real quick.
I can get it on the phone here real quick. Yes, our fantasy. You want to do the league? Let's give just the Kansas numbers.
We're gonna give everything because we haven't done a fantasy check-in in a while. So, Rich, you did win last week with 196 points. You tied Solomon. Speaking of which, we have to talk about him at the end of the show too, because it's his birthday.
All right.
So you and Solomon tie.
Coming in third was the Jenna Beans, getting 178 points. The Funkhouse got 166 for Kansas. Mikey came in fifth with 160. Jordan the Supus came in sixth with 144. And Jeffrey the Stroop only got 30 points.
Come on, Jeffrey. I'll send the kids a message real quick after this. Overall, Rich, you are in the lead with 2168. Solomon is right on your heels with 2135. Funkhouse is at 1948. I'm at 1803. Jordan the Supus is at 1694. Jenna Beans is at 1611. And bringing up the rear is Jeffrey the Stroop at 1327. We will, man, it's fun. I need to be doing better about looking at my drivers a little bit better, maybe getting guys in when I need to change them in. So, Rich, with that being said, we're heading to Darlington this week.
That's right. Darlington, it is throwback weekend for Mother's Day at the Lady in Black, Darlington. So, Mike, I have the honors, and I'm going to go with Joey Logano.
Yeah, I changed my pick during the show. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick.
I like the Kevin Harvick pick. He's got I think both drivers, Logano and Harvick, have great history, good track history, and over at Darlington.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick has earned his Darlington stripe a time or two and knows what he's doing there. Rich, this has been the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out on 5th Avenue for all your sports memorabilia needs, or at their eBay store. Once again, that is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Rich, let's stay at a track, but this time, let's go to the horse track. Last week was the Kentucky Derby. The winner was Mage. Rich, your pick of Angel of Empire finished third. How'd my horse do?
Mike, your pick of Trippid Trace came in seventh.
Hey, it's better than my original pick, and I put it down. I had picked it the day before. I was gonna pick Forte because I was gonna say, man, Forte ran great for Chicago. Maybe he'll be able to run good against the ponies. But then he scratched, so ended up not getting to. He ended up not racing. So last minute I had to pick somebody. So I picked Tappet Trice, and seventh isn't bad in that field. So next week is the Preakness, May 20th, on NBC again.
Yep. So we'll give you our picks for the Preakness next week.
Yep.
All right, Mike. In the NFL, you chose to skip the NFL last week on your solo show. So I put on your NFL draft final thoughts.
So
on here with the NFL.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and start that because I wanted to hear what you thought first, and then.
Well, are we wanting the? I think I thought we really talked about the draft really well last week, but
2 weeks ago. But we
2
didn't.
Weeks ago,
it
yeah.
wasn't the final draft. We were in the middle of the draft then.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the 4th round by the time we wrapped our show. So overall, just the Bears class. I think overall, I gotta give them a B.
Yeah,
I gotta give them a B, and I think they got the guys that they needed, especially on the defensive side with those defensive tackles. But I think they could have gotten them later in the draft. I think they could have gotten those defensive tackles in the third, in the second, later on in the draft. So I thought that the guy they got from Florida, I thought was drafted really was a reach.
Yep.
But I mean, if anything, I thought that they were really drafting from needs, not drafting best player available.
Yeah, the thing I have a problem with overall in the draft, we only picked up one. Or did we pick up two? I think we only picked up one offensive lineman. We picked up 2 running backs. I can't give him anything higher than a C. Do we need 2 more running backs there? I don't think so.
I like the pick of the back from Texas, though.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I think that's a good pick. I think he could be a but why did we draft Tyler Scott 18 picks after that? By the way, 18 overall picks. What was the point?
Yeah, I get
a second runner in the. You use both your 4th round picks to pick up runners. Somebody give me a reason.
Going to be a kick returner?
That. Sure, he's listed. They're both listed as running backs. Sure, maybe one of them becomes a kick returner, but I'm not here for it. Okay, that's a little different. On his draft Miller Lite photo, they call him a running back, but the news photos and other stuff are calling him a wide receiver. Maybe okay, fine, but we ended up with 2 DBs, a defensive lineman. We ended up with like 3 defensive linemen in the draft overall.
But for a unit that didn't generate pressure on the quarterback, you needed the defensive lineman, though.
Yeah, but
needed the defensive lineman.
But you know what's more important than getting pressure on a quarterback?
Keeping your quarterback clean.
Keeping pressure off a quarterback. We have a quarterback that has the potential to be being considered one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Someone tell me now, why are we not protecting him? Why did we not spend half of our draft capital? By the way, we had some great draft capital in this draft. Why did we not use at least more than one pick on the offensive line? We picked 1 offensive lineman. I can't give them more than a C. They are low C, almost C minus territory for me. Did
Yeah,
we?
and I can agree with you, Mike, on that one. I mean, there was
This
I mean,
draft class had a huge number of offensive linemen that are protecting good quarterbacks. Why didn't we pick up more of them? This is the problem I have with the draft. They're at least a low C, almost C minus. I think they did better than a D. I think they did. But man, I see all of these picks and I see there were some offensive linemen. Like, I'm sorry, getting two defensive linemen when you could have picked up two offensive linemen in the sixth and seventh rounds, getting two running backs in the fourth round. You got to do better than this, and I think I can't give them. They get a pass. It's passable, but I'm not happy about it. So, overall, do you have a winner for the draft?
winner for the draft. It's probably the same team that I talked about last week, and it's got to be the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't like saying it because I'm not a big Eagles fan, and I really don't like the fans. But yeah, you're right. The Eagles are the winners. So, okay. Anything else on the NFL draft? Well, I can't tell you my news on the schedule release. I'll tell you, but I can't tell the world. But how do you feel about the schedule? With the Bears overall,
I could see a 500 team, I think, this year, with the way that the schedule shook out for them this year.
yeah. So
So do we want to go week to week, or save that when it gets closer?
we'll save it. I'm just looking for some highlights. They have a Thursday night football game against the Commanders. They have a Monday night football game against the Vikings. They have a Thursday night against. They have three primetime games, 2 Thursdays and one Monday. And then they have a week 13 bye. Man, that first half of the season is going to be tough, but and then the back half of the season, man.
The back half looks doable, though.
Yeah, the back half looks
once
really doable.
Once you get 15 through 18, those are all I think could be winnable games. Cleveland,
definitely.
Arizona, Atlanta.
Yeah.
In Green Bay. So maybe they could sneak into the playoffs depending on how the first half of the schedule goes.
Yep, I agree with that.
Maybe.
So, and if nothing more, they could play spoiler. None of the teams that they're facing would be spoilers, but maybe depending on how strength yeah, they could become the sneak in team depending on how the season's going. So yeah, I like that. And we'll talk about we're not going to actually next week let's plan on talking about kind of a week to week, but not necessarily give what our thoughts on wins or losses on it, because that'll be closer to the season when we know what the season actually what our roster is going to look like, what the other teams' rosters are going to look like,
okay.
Stuff like that. So we'll figure that out soon enough, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. With that, anything else in the NFL you want to talk about?
I don't think I have anything in the NFL.
Then let's move. Yeah.
I guess I got one other thing. We were talking about the schedule, I guess.
Yep.
Do you think that the team put the Green Bay Packers?
The team doesn't get to make those picks. The league does.
I know the league doesn't, but you had to have thought that they knew that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be on the Green Bay Packers. Why would they put Green Bay in so many primetime games since this is going to be a development year for them?
Um,
Is it like tradition to where they know that there's going to be a national audience there?
I think that's exactly it right there. They know that they will have a national audience, and they'll just play to that. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, you get a week. They get one, two, three. Yeah, I guess they have, but they only have three games. I'm just
Yeah.
surprised that they would put them in there. That's all.
No, I totally get it. So, okay. In quick hits, any quick. Last week I talked about it, and it's getting close. We have Mario Kart. My team has made it to state, so they will go one day after I'm scheduled to have a baby.
Oh,
So I'm not
so
going.
is there an assistant coach?
No, but our activities director is going to take them, so it'll be fun.
Okay, they'll be the
Yeah,
ones to
I'll
get.
I'll get some stuff set up and I'll let them know. I'll send them with some information and have him ready to go on that. So, um, and then
We got to talk Mass Singer. So
yeah,
Mike,
spoiler alert!
why don't you
Spoiler
give us
alert!
some spoilers?
Spoiler alert! Hey, we're going to talk about the Masked Singer. So if you don't want to listen to this section, we'll bid you a fond farewell. We do need to give shout outs after spoiler alert, but I'm going to give one real quick and then we'll do a full version of it afterwards. Solomon Stroop's birthday is today. Happy birthday to him. He is a fan of the show. He is Dupo. He's the one that we talk about in fantasy. It's his birthday today, so we'll wish him a full happy birthday after the spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Masked Singer's coming up. Okay, Masked Singer is coming up. If you don't want to listen to what we have to say about it, or you haven't seen it yet, yeah, take a pause. We'll see you next week. If they're wanting to catch up with the Masked Singer and then listen to us, but they want to do it in their car, how should they do that?
You know what, Mike? They can find us wherever they download their podcasts that the other podcasts that they listen to, Apple, Google, Spotify,
iHeart.
yeah, iHeart, Apple, just to name a few. Mike, if they're listening to us out in podcast land, they want to see the live video or a recording of the video. Where can they find those at?
So the live, we are on Facebook.com/balls and sticks. You can find us there, and you'll be able to get notifications. Make sure you follow the page. You'll get notifications on when that's going on. Also, if you don't want to have a Facebook, but you want to watch our videos, check us out on Facebook.com or on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube if you don't have a Facebook. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's talk the Masked Singer. So last week, not the one that just happened this past week, but the week before,
Hmm.
while you were in Kansas, we had was that the Redemption or was that no, that wasn't Redemption. That was,
That was the final four.
yeah, the Final Four. So you had Medusa, you had the
California
California
roll.
Roll, you had the parakeet thing,
The
right? The
macaw.
macaw. That's what it is. And then what was the other guy?
The macaw and shoot, now I can't think of who it was. It was 2 weeks ago.
Um,
Or was 2 weeks ago was that or was 2 weeks ago was that
no, 2 weeks
the
ago was the Final Four because there were three. Um, it was da da da. Sorry, I'm bringing it up real quick.
No, I'm trying to look out something too.
Oh, okay.
Was it the
Um,
UFO? Was it the UFO that performed one last time?
no, yes, yes, it was the UFO. You are correct.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking on the Wikipedia to see who was the
Yeah,
first
that's
one that
what I
went
did.
out. So yeah, so week 12 of The Masked Singer was Macaw, Medusa, California Roll, and the UFO.
Yeah.
So I don't really recall who my favorite performer was of that one, but the UFO was the one that went home.
Yep.
It was model internet personality Olivia Colpo. I'd
Yeah.
never heard of her before that,
Nope, me
before
neither.
the show.
And they did a really nice, and it made me kind of sad. They did a really nice tribute to Jerry Springer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he died uh, 2 weeks ago, just before the shit. Like, yeah, that was. Um, yeah, so McCall sang "Your Song" by Elton John, which I think McCall. I think I know who it is. I actually think I know who Medusa is too. And then "Creep" by California Roll. Tell me that wasn't amazing.
It really was. I mean, for me to see it was British Invasion Night and not, to me, when I think, I never thought of Creed um, being a British
Radiohead.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah, Radiohead being British. So, I mean, I was expecting somebody to be singing like a Beatles song, and I just kept on waiting for it,
Yep.
and no Beatles.
Yeah. Then we had so. Yeah, I think everybody that week did good. I wouldn't have been mad at it if any of them went home. I was happy with. I thought I told Danielle I thought that she would be the one going home, and I was right.
Hmm.
Um, I, I tend to have a decent run on who's what and how people are doing on each show. I'm not great at picking who's who and figuring out any of the clues. I'm not good at that, but I love it's so fun. Okay, then we go into the semifinals. In the semifinals, it was we had California Roll do "Breakaway" by Kelly Clarkson. By the way, none of them have done bad at all. They've all done amazingly well. So let's get that out there first. California Roll did that, did great. But then Medusa did "Take Me to Church" by Hooser. I love the song, but that, oh my goodness, she did amazing. She tore the house down in that with that, and man, it was great. Um, and then McCaw did "What Makes You Beautiful" by One Direction. Again, he knocked it out of the park. Rich, what happened in the battle royale?
The battle royale was they did a three-way battle,
Yep.
all singing the same song. I don't recall what the name of the
"Runaway
song was.
Baby" by Bruno Mars.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, if I was just going off of the battle, just the battle, I would have sent Medusa home. Just
I
going off of the battle, I
I
thought
told
that
Danielle
she
the
didn't do
exact
as
same thing. The exact same thing. I was like, so I don't know that I agree with that. I said in the middle of it happening, she hit a few notes early on in the song that weren't great. Then she recovered quite well. But I agree. She did the weakest of it.
but for the entire night, you couldn't have. I wanted to see Medusa go on based on
Yeah.
her performance
Yeah.
for the entire thing, and I got a feeling. Well, let's go. Who went home, Mike? Who was ultimately unmasked at the end of the night?
The California roll. Now, Rich, when the California roll first happened, I made a prediction.
You did. You said that you thought that it was Planetonics.
I've been saying it since they first hit the show. And we only got to see them once. And I said, I think it's the Pentatonics. And I was correct.
You
So,
were. I think if they had performed, if in the old format before they started doing like the stupid like the you're safe
yeah.
battle royale winner and then oh you're safe we'll see you in the semifinals
Yep.
role I think that using like my train of thought that if the judges are on to you
Yeah.
guessing if you have multiple judges guessing who it is eventually yep guess who's going home that night
Yep.
you are if the judges are on to you and so I mean I was surprised with all the Broadway the cast of this Broadway show that nobody said as a final guess. I don't think anybody, only one person mentioned Planetonic. So I don't know if that was meant for production or if they were really thrown off the scent talking about Broadway shows.
Yeah. I'm not sure on that one, but either way, I love them. They are by far and away one of my favorite bands in the modern music era. So I'm totally happy with what they did, and overall in the night, honestly, I don't think it. I don't think it was. I don't think any of them did bad, and I wouldn't have been mad if any of them went on or any of them got eliminated because they were all just that good. Um, I did think they were the weakest of the week of the first round. The battle royale, I think they actually did the best. But the first,
Because they went to their full a cappella to
yep,
where they were doing everything.
yeah,
That to me kind of like, yep. For me, went before they announced the winner, I said it was going to be California Roll
yeah,
because they went full Planetonics
yep,
and gave themselves away
yeah.
of who they really were.
So, um,
So we have the finals next week, Mike. The McCall and Medusa. Who do you think is who would your pick to win? Not seeing any performances, no more clues, no more not seeing a performance or a battle royale. Who do you think is going to walk away as the with the golden mask this year?
I think Medusa. I think it's
I, I
going to be
can
Medusa.
I can agree. I think my wife was wanting to see California Roll go all the way to be the first group to win it all. But I think that it's going to be, I think that it's also going to be Medusa with the whole save thing
Yep.
being a save. And I've liked the McCall, but I don't think that in a one-on-one, I don't think he can do, I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to be able to beat Medusa.
Do you have predictions?
I
Because I have two.
don't.
I have two predictions
Okay, go
actually.
ahead.
I think I know who both of them are. I think Medusa is Rebecca Ferguson from The Greatest Showman. She played
Okay.
Jenny Lind. I know that
All
sounds
right.
crazy, but 2 weeks ago, during the redemption show, she hit a few notes in there that said to me, "I think that's who it is."
My wife thinks it's somebody from Destiny's Child. She's not, I don't remember who she said which
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I truly think the macaw is David Archuleta.
Yeah, I like that guess. I'd like to see it be Darren Chris
Mm,
from Glee. They guessed him, but I don't think it is Darren Chris though.
the the reason I think it's David Archuleta is when David Archuleta first came on the scene, he came on um, through American Idol, and he had a very flamboyant personality, but he continued to deny his homosexual tendencies and deny the allegations thereof for many years. And then he finally has embraced it and opened up that yes, he is actually gay. And for years he's been doing that, and he finally did just a couple years ago come out and say, no, I really am. I'm gay, and that's who I am. And a lot of the clues talk about how he's masked it. He's been masking things and blah blah blah, and that's now that he's finally embracing him, who he truly is. That's what to me what says it's David Archuleta. And the voice. He was I think he was the last season that I truly was in love with The Masked Singer, or with not The Masked Singer, American Idol, and So I think it's David Archuleta. That's my opinion. So, okay. Anything else before we head into our final shout out segment of the show?
I don't, Mike. Go ahead.
So, first, we truly want to wish Solomon Stroop the happiest of birthdays. Turning 38 today. Man, you're old. A whole week older than me. Old man. Anyway, he's my best friend since high school, through thick and thin. So, happy birthday, bro. Hope you have a great day. Do you have any shout outs, Rich?
It's Mother's Day weekend this week, Mike.
Yes.
So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, especially mine, Pam, and mother-in-law Karen.
Yeah, and I want to shout out my 3 mothers that I truly love. My mom, Sue Hart, who regularly communicates on the show. My mother-in-law, Teresa Phillips, who has no clue what this show is about, and I don't think has watched an episode, but happy Mother's Day to you as well. And then the biggest one to my wife, who allows me to do this show and take an hour and a half to 2 hours a week, just hanging out with Rich. Happy Mother's Day. We love you all, and we appreciate you. Rich, with that, and a welcome back, go ahead and let us know what to do.
Mike, why don't you go ahead and roll that outro?
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.